So we're towards the bottom of Daf Chavav base. We were up to, it's about 10, probably 12 lines from the bottom, the Omar Rabba. We actually had this Shaila before. The Omar Rabba, Zara Kli Miroy Shagag. Someone threw a keli off a roof. And I believe Rashi says the Bala Kli threw the keli off the roof. So the owner of a keli throws his keli off the roof, meaning it's going to go down and smash at the bottom. In safety class, they always teach us that falling off a ladder never hurt anybody. It's the sudden stop at the bottom that always causes all of the trouble. The Omer Rabba, Zar Kli Merosh Hagag, Uba Achar V'Shavre B'Makol. And somebody else came as it was falling and smashed it, putter. The person who smashed it is putter. Zesh Shavre B'Makol. The person who broke it with the baseball bat as it was going down, Kodim Shvirasai, before it hit the ground, Sharei Soifer Li Shaver. It was going to break as soon as it was going to hit the ground. I thank you so much. I was by him yesterday. I got a clean bill of health. Okay. So Zok to Gemara. Why is he potter? My timer morna tvira tovar, because the keli that he broke was actually broken before he broke it, because it was already on its way down. V'yomer Rabba, Zora klima roishagag. Now this time Rashi changes the case, and he says that the mazik, there was a third party who threw someone's keli off the roof. There was a soft landing at the bottom. So when he dropped it off the roof, he was not setting it into its trajectory that it should get smashed. But as it was going down, someone came and took away the pillows at the bottom, or even if he himself ran and pulled the pillows away, potter, everybody's potter. The people on the bottom who pulled the pillows away are potter, because that's only a grama. The reason why the guy who dropped it is potter is my time up. The shadja, when he dropped it off the roof, his arrow stopped before it would have broken the kalim, because those kalim were not destined to fall on the floor and crumble. Rather, they were destined to fall on the soft pillows that would have protected them from breaking. Potter, Sharem is Rikosoi, Ein Soifai Lishaver, Achi Notlu Hakar. When he threw it out, when he threw the kalim down, they were not destined to get smashed at the bottom until someone came along afterwards and pulled away those pillows. And the fellow who took away the pillows, he doesn't have a liability either. Even if it's the person who actually threw it down, Potter, the grama b'nizaken hava, that's called grama b'nizaken. Okay. Tosfos here has a very important one-liner. The second to the last Tosfos says, Kadam v'silkoi pirsher balfis, the Rif explains, to Rabba l'taimei, the less they did the garmi. So there's different levels of how involved you are in damaging. In this case, you're very involved. You dropped the thing off the roof, and then you ran and pulled the pillows away. That's even more than grama. That's even more direct damage, although it's not totally direct. And that's how Tosfos labels garmi. Yet the Rif says that the Rabbah holds that garmi is potter. Reisha goes Okama, which we're going to learn. Ulirinira, the grama ben zakanu. This is not called garmi. Doesn't pass the threshold. So that will be a whole Torah in and of itself, which we'll probably see in Hagaz Okama. Is what exactly is the level of involvement that's labeled as grama, and what is the level of involvement that's labeled as garmi, which is even more direct. Yom Rabbah. This is a horrific case. This almost reminds me of October 7th. Yom Rabbah. Zarak Tinuk Meroy Shagag. Rahman al-Islam, someone took a little child and threw the child off the roof. Uva Achar v'Kibla v'Sayif. And someone at the bottom held out a sword and caught the child, Rahman al-Islam, puncturing the child with a sword. Who is the murderer? Zokta Gemara, Plukta de Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira v'Rabbanan. This, in fact, whether or not the person at the bottom who actually killed the child with his sword, it's a machlokes Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira v'Rabbanan if he has any chiyuv or not. The Tanya we learned, if he has a chiyuv misa, that is. Hiku asar b'nei adam b'asar maklis. There's one person, and there's 10 people ganging up on him, beating him with their own sticks. It doesn't matter if they're all beating him together and he dies, and there it's really impossible to know who made the last blow. Or even if they gave him blows one at a time, which clearly the last one finished him off, kulon peturin. They're all patur from a chiyuv misa. As Rashi says, the ba'inan sheyaka kol nefesh adam. The person doing the murder, in order for him to be chayiv, he has to kill the complete person. Kol nefesh. The ein kan maka kol nefesh. Here, even the last person didn't kill the whole person. He only killed the remaining breath that this person Rachmana litzlan had after he had already been beaten by the 9 prior to him, and therefore ptur mimisa. However, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira chayiv. According to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira chayiv, zeh shekibla v'sayiv, the person at the bottom who caught the baby with a knife, you don't have to be yaka kol adam. As long as you're the one that pushes the person over that line of death, then there'll be a chiyuv misa. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, if it was one blow after the other, ha'achrin chayiv, the last person will be chayiv for the death of this victim, because he was the one who brought the misa sooner. Sure, he likely would have died, the victim likely would have died, even with the 9 blows. But your 10th blow definitely hastened the murder, Rachmana litzlan. So then, on that note, we have a machlokes Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. If a human is chayiv, what if an animal came? So Rachmana litzlan, someone threw a baby off a roof, and a shark came and caught the baby with his horns, Rachmana litzlan, and killed the child. Is there a chiyuv kofer? Because we know an animal that kills a person, the violent has to pay kofer. So it will be totally in the machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel ben Yoshel, Rabbi Yechanan, and Rabbanan. The Tanya, it says by kofer, in kofer uses olav v'nosan pidyon nafshoy kachal asher uses olav. Is it the main nizik, which is the Rabbanan? In other words, you pay the value of the person that was killed. That's the kofer is. Rabbi Shmuel ben Yoshel, Rabbi Yechanan, you're paying to bail yourself out. So how is this totally in whether or not you pay kofer? So Rashi says, Rabbi Shmuel, the Amar kofer b'mazik sheminan. According to Rabbi Shmuel, that you pay the value of the mazik, mishalem kofer. Here, the owner of the ox would have to pay kofer. Aval Rabbanan the sheminan ben nizik. But according to the Rabbanan, you look at the value of the nizik. This baby falling off a roof had already a 0 value. Why? Because it was going to die. So if you hold the main nizik, you'll be potter. If you hold the main mazik, you're chayiv. That's how Rashi learns. Because the baby was thrown off a roof, it was going to die because it was going to die from falling off a building. There are Rishonim who learn exactly the opposite. That if you hold the main mazik, then you're potter, and if you hold the main nizik, then you're chayiv. And I didn't get clear what they said. If you held the main nizik, why should it be chayiv? Because you have to pay for a kapara. I don't remember. I don't remember the exact reason, but they are Rishonim who learn exactly the opposite. Okay, the Amar Rabba, Nafal Meirosh Agag. What happens if someone is on a roof? We'll draw a scenario to try to make it somewhat normal. This guy was sunbathing on the roof, and he didn't want tan lines. And there was a woman who was sunbathing on the ground next door to his roof, and she didn't either want to have tan lines. And therefore, Viniska V'isha, and he fell off the roof, and he fell on this woman, and he hurt her in the process. Chayiv b'daled dvarim. he's chayiv for nezek tzar ripu sheves and bushes. Now, if you remember, we said earlier that it has to be measured or korban measured to be chayiv on dalit dvarim. I'm sorry, you're chayiv on dalit dvarim as long as it's not an oinus. An oinus wouldn't be chayiv on dalit dvarim. So here, being there at the edge of the roof, it's a problem. As Rashi is he blew off the roof with a ruach matsuya. Clearly, it's something that he should have been careful for. And therefore he pays all 5 dvarim, even boishas. What if this woman was his yavama? Loy kana, he wouldn't be kind to her for yibum. Why not? Zakrashi afapisha sheninu habal yivimtai ben shogig ben mezid is kana. So here he fell off. Why isn't that shogig? If he was planning to do a bia, but with somebody else, and he ended up being boil her, that's when we say it's a good bia, and he would be kind to her. But if he wasn't mechaven to any bia, he just fell off the roof, and it happened to be that it was it depends on your perspective, either in the right place at the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time. We won't get into details of that. Therefore, he's not calling Shavama. But Mimer, if he's calling or not, if he had a brother who made Mimer, Postla love, this woman would be postal to him, even though he was boil her, because there was no kinyan of evil. He won't be chayiv on boishas. It's not in the chayiv of boishas at sheim is chayiv. Boishas, you're only chayiv if you're mechaven. So Karavel Mezid makes you chayiv in all the dalad dvarim except for boishas. Boishas, you have to have kavanah to do the ma'aser. You didn't have to have kavanah to be mevazer. You had to have kavanah to do the ma'aser. So there's actually a very interesting shaila over here. He fell on her, but he's not making yibum, right? What would be if she became pregnant from this bia? So now it's eishes ach shaloi b'makam mitzvah. Is it a chi of chorus? Since he's being boiler and he's not being the kind of mitzvah of yibum in this bia, is there an issue of eishes ach? And therefore, if there was a pregnancy from this, would this child be a mamzer, a product of eishes ach? So that's what the Rishonim have a discussion about. If there was a bia, but it wasn't a bia that's going to be kind of mitzvah of yibum, would that be a bia asura? And it's discussed. I believe the Meches Chinuch discusses it, and there's differences made between the kinyan of yibum and the being kind of mitzvah of yibum. But this is one of the shalos involved as well. Is what is the status of this bia, and therefore would the child be a mamzer? If someone falls off a roof, but so there's no way he could have known to protect himself from this. And he fell on somebody, and hurt the person, ubayish, and he actually embarrassed him as well. Halach is chayiv al nezek, he's chayiv for damage, upater b'dal dvarim, but he's pater b'dal dvarim because that's not korban mezid. He did this completely by mistake. However, beruach matzuya v'hizik, if he fell beruach matzuya, which means it is korban mezid, he should have been careful not to stand near the edge of the roof. V'hizik ubayish chayiv b'dal dvarim, there he'd be chayiv b'dal dvarim, but pater ala boishas, because by boishas you're only chayiv if you had kavanah to do the action. And here he did not kavanah to fall off and fall on somebody. It happened by mistake, but it's not. He's not an oinus because he should have been prepared, and therefore he's chayiv in everything except for boishas. He's falling down and he's about to hit the hard ground, and he realizes that if he twists and maneuver himself, he'll fall on a person that will soften his blow. So there he had an intent to fall on the person, chayiv af ala boishas, then he'll be chayiv on boishas as well. As Rashi says, after he started falling, he twisted himself, I guess, to make him land on a person, maybe that would absorb part of the blow. He wanted to benefit by falling on that person, because that person would make it less painful for him. Therefore, he intended to fall on that person, and he'll be chayiv for boishas as well. The Tanya we learned, the Torah tells us, there's two men that are fighting, and one man is getting the upper hand, and he's beating up the second guy. So B is getting beaten up. And Mrs. B comes to try to rescue her husband. The Karva Eishes Echad Lahatzalas Isha Miyad Makeu. Mrs. B is trying to save her husband, Mr. B, from being beaten up by Mr. A. The Shilcha Yada, she sends her hand, the Hichzika, and she grabs Bimavushav. It just needed to say the Shilcha Yada Bimavushav. And we would get the hint of what she was trying to do to slow him down, right? She was trying to stop the ball from rolling, right? She wanted to stop this assault in its tracks. So Zog to Gemara, Mimash Mishanemar V'Shilcha Yada. Eino Yedei Shechzika. Obviously, she said this because that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to squeeze. Mata Mulema V'Chzika. Why does the Torah have to get so graphic? Not why I got so graphic. Why the Torah got so graphic? Zog to Gemara, Loi will have to teach you. Kivon Shenischaven Lahazik. Once she had kavana to be mazik, afa pishal and nischaven levayish. She didn't want to hurt this Mr. A. She was just trying to hurt him a little bit to slow him down, so that Mr. A shouldn't hurt B. But that's enough to create a chiyuv of voices. She didn't want to. She didn't want to shame him. She wanted to hurt him a little bit so that he shouldn't hurt her husband. But she had no intention to shame him. That wasn't her interest. But the about she wanted to do this ma'isa, therefore it'll be a chiyuv voices. Yom Rabbah. Someone put a gachelas on his friend's heart, umeis, and his friend died. So Bob put a gachelas on Reuben's heart, on Reuben's chest, and Reuben dies. Bob is putter. You know why he's putter? Because Reuben's a shaita. Shahaya loyla salka, Dr. Rashi. Who told you to let the colders shake it off? So therefore, since this guy's a bardas, and he should have enough sense to take the coal off, we don't blame Bob because Reuben should have taken it off. Al Bigdoi Benisraf. What if he didn't put the coal on the body of the person? He put it on Reuben's jacket, Benisraf, and that burnt up the jacket. Chayiv. There you're going to say that the person who put it is going to be chayiv. Why? Why don't we say Reuben should have taken the coal off his jacket before it got burned? Just like we're saying he should take it off his body before he gets burnt. Dr. Rashi, the hadlai solka, you know why Reuben didn't take it off? Suffer it binile bedina v'yifrili. I don't need to be busy with taking care of it. I'll just send my lawyer to sue him, and he'll pay me anyway. But if I die, there's no one to sue. So therefore, if he puts it on the person, then it's incumbent on Reuben to push it off. But if he puts it on Reuben's beged, Reuben could say, you know what, let it burn, I'm going to come after you. Amar Rava. Rava said, Tarvayu Tadentu. This guy might be a pikech. He might have had a hole right there with the coals anyway that he made. So heartache, heartburn, yeah. Amar Rava, Tarvayu Tanan. We actually have a brisa to support both of the halachas that Rabba taught us. Side that al liba umeis is potter, and side that al bigdev in Nishraf is chai. Because it says as follows: al liba, first al liba that it's potter. It's not we learned. Kavash alav toichar. What if someone held his friend down in the fire until his friend dies? Oila soichamayim, or he's held underwater. Bob holds Reuben underwater until he dies. The halacha is and Reuben is a victim. He's not able to overpower this Bob and break out and catch his breath. There, Bob will be chayiv. Umeis chayiv. But if he just pushed him into the fire, but the yachal misham, he'd be able to get up. I'm thinking of like Rabbi Brunner. He pushed him into the water, but he's able to get out, right? Umeis, and he dies, potter. Then he's going to be potter. So that's similar to aliboy. Big doy, where do you find that if he puts it on his beged, he'll be chayiv? It's non kras ksusi. What if someone tells his friend, you want to rip my jacket? Rip it, because it died. Go rip my jacket. Shaber is kadi. Go break my jacket. I have no problem with that. Chayiv. So even though he told his friend, go do it, Avadi is going to be chayiv, as Chaim Fear says, because I need the money. But what if he says, tear my beged, almanas liftar, but you'll be potter. So you clearly speak out that the person tearing will be potter. then the person tearing his partners, because clearly you're saying that you're pattering him. As Rashi tells us, Chayiv, if he stam tears my beged, even though I gave him permission, im tirsha, if you want, kra, but vishalim, you have to pay. Aval pirish le amanas, liftar, then it will be pater. So that is the raya. Tosfos has a huge kasha. Why is this a raya? Is there not a huge difference between kra eskususi, where you're actually physically tearing my beged? There you'll be chayiv. But just putting a gachelas on my beged, who said over there you're going to be chayiv? Let's see Rashi. Let's see Tosfos. Kra eskususi for Tosfos tema. Heichi ma'isi raya. I don't understand how this is a raya to Rabba's halacha. Dilma shiny hacha. Maybe in Rabba's case, if you put a gachelas on my beged, you're not chayiv. You know why you're not chayiv? Shahaya loy lahasar gachelas me'al bigdot. Maybe I did have to take my beged off, the coal off my beged. In the case of the brisa where you're bringing a raya from, you didn't put a coal on my beged, you physically tore it. That's where you're going to be chayiv. Teda, I'll even bring you a raya that there's a makom to make such a distinction. You could be medayik the al basare potter if he put it on his butcher's potter. Why? Because there is a taina. Rabbi does subscribe to the taina that it's incumbent upon the person to throw it off. I'm sorry. Well, it could have been salvaged, right? Because otherwise, what's the time to take it off? It's not in my vision of someone taking a hot coal from a barbecue, putting it on your jacket. How could you possibly shake it off right away? I don't know what their begotten were made out of in those days. So that's a good point. If someone says blind my eye, it'll be chai. You see, Ali al-Basari is potter because you should have taken it off. We're not bringing a raya to that svara that he's chayiv because he's potter because I could have taken it off. That svara Rabbi knows, and we don't need a right to that svara. That wasn't the shaila that we're bringing a raya from the brisa. Since you put it on this bag and he's quiet, imkain die to have a shifter. By the fact that I leave this menace on my beged, it's a riot that I don't care. For that you have a riot that no, I might just be saying, do it and you'll pay me. You find even if I tell someone to tear my beged, he's still chayiv. Why? Because what I mean to say is tear it, but pay for it as well. Okay, gewaltig. Dr. Gemor weiter. Dr. Gemor weiter. Boy Rabba. What if Bob puts a gachelas on my Evet's heart? So he's human, but he's my moment. So how do you assess it? Mao kigufay dami, and therefore you say that he should have taken it off. He should have taken it off. The Evet's a human. The Evet should have taken it off, and since he didn't, the perpetrator shouldn't be chayiv. Or you treat it like his moment, meaning, yeah, you put a gachelas on my Evet, pay me. If you say it's kagufay and the perpetrator will not be chayiv, mahu. What if Bob put a coal on the ox, which eventually killed the ox? An ox she'ein boy das l'salka. An ox doesn't have the das to take the coal off. Hadar pashta. Then Rabbit was pashta the shaila avdei kagufay. So therefore, the person who put the coal on the Evet would not be liable because the Evet should have taken it off. But if the perpetrator puts a coal on the shore, then it's like mammon, and the perpetrator would be chayiv. Yeah. No, Yedim Zevet. Yedim Zevet, yeah. Because a child, if my Evid is my moment, if my Evid, you treat it like my moment, and therefore I should get paid, or he's a human. If he's a human, the guy could say you should have taken it out. So Baruch Hashem, we were zoichet to finish Ketchet Regel. What a packed parak full of so many different things. We had a whole bunch of bomba sugis over here. It's a beautiful parak. Baruch Hashem, we were zoichet to finish it. And Bili Neder, Hadinolach, Ketchet Regel. Bili Neder, Beis Hashem, Hadinolach, Ketchet Regel, Beis Hashem, Hadinolach, Ketchet Regel. Beautiful. Now we're going to get into Hamaniach. Hamaniach es hakad Rishus Harab. Here we're going to see the importance of making sure that every contract you write is very clear. Hamaniach as a kad Rishus Harab. Someone takes a jug. A jug is like an earthenware type of little flask you keep wine in the marshal, and he left it in Rishus Harab, where it had no business being there. And someone was walking down the street and tripped over it, and therefore vishover and broke it. The loch is potter. He's potter. Why did you leave your jug in my Rishus Harab or in Rishus Harab? What if the person who hit the jug got damaged? He got hurt. Then balachavis chayiv v'niskay. The balachavis is now liable to pay for the damages that it caused because he left there a shtickle bar Rishus Harab. Zok the Gemara, isn't that interesting? It starts with hamanich as a kad, and then talking about the same item, balachavis chayiv. Why is the Tana interchanging, referring to one object at the beginning? The Tana is calling it a kad, and in the end, the Tana is calling it a chavis. Why aren't we consistent and refer to it as a kad or as a chavis? Zok Gemara pasach bekad v'sayim bechavis. Utanami, we find many mishnayos where the Tana interchanges between the word kad and the word chavis. V'tananami zeba bechavisoi. One fellow is coming down the street with his barrel, and the other guy's walking with a beam on his shoulder. This meeting is going to be a smashing success. The kad met the beam, and it was a smashing reunion. The halacha is potter. So what does it say over there? It's a zeba b'chavisoi and then nishbur akadoi. Once again, pasach b'chavis v'sim b'chad. And now we have a third example of the Tana doing the same thing. This guy comes with a barrel of wine. And the other fellow is coming down with a cut of dvash. Dvash is a lot more expensive than yayin. What if the chavish shel dvash cracked? So Reuven, who's holding the dvash, is about to lose his dvash. So Shimon wants to be a nice guy. He said, I only have wine. Let me spill out my wine. And I'll capture your dvash. And then you'll pay me the difference. But at least I'll salvage your dvash. And he saved the dvash in his jug that was originally holding the wine. He has no right to demand the value of the wine that he lost. He could only charge for what it cost for the work that he did. But again, Pasach bekad v'sayim b'chavis. Once again, we're talking about the same object. Why is the Tana referring to it bekad or b'chavis? Amar Papa, Zotka Papa, Hainu kad, Hainu chavis. A kad and a chavis is the same thing. We're going to learn that a kad and a chavis is the same thing, but a chavis is slightly larger. But they're very, very similar. L'may nafkamina. Why do I care? Is this a language class teaching me what words mean? So Gemara no makes a big nafkamina. L'mekach u'memkar. What does it mean, Zok Rashi? If the lekeach already paid me, in other words, I told the lekeach told me I want to buy from you a chavis, and I say, okay, it's $5, and the lekeach paid me the $5, I can then give him a kad. So biyada moicher losses le'ezah sheyirtza, ba'afilu hisna imei chavis. Even though you paid me $5, and I said I was going to sell you a chavis, the mashma gedola chavis is a little bit bigger than the kad. Noisin like kad shiktana, because those words are interchangeable. Correct the Gemara. Let's get into the details. Hey chidam, ilema ba'asra the kada loy kari chavis, the chavis loy kari kada. If it's a city where there's a distinction, the larger thing is called a chavis, the smaller thing is called a kad. So why in the world should I be able to swap it out? Hal loy kari la. We don't call this a chavis. We call this a kad. Zaktim b'latricha. The ruba karila lakada kada. Most people call it a kad. Ula chavis chavis and call a chavis a chavis. But the economy, there's a miyat of people the karila chavisa kada ula kada chavisa. So ma'u tema zil basaruba. You might say you go basaroiv, and therefore if I gave you the money already, and I asked for a chavis, since roiv people consider the more valuable item a chavis, you have to give me the chavis. Kamash Malon, you don't go Basaraiv. And we'll turn over to Tamabase in a second. Toshis asked the Pasha Takasha, the Lech Zuzah, see how much you paid. There's got to be the value of a chavis, which is probably a couple of bucks more than the value of a kad. See how much you gave. Shouldn't that prove what it was that he was buying. So Tosfos says in one shot that they were very close in value, and it could be that it would be the same. But Tosfos says another pashut of shot. He says no. He gave me $10, and he says I want to buy $10 worth of chavias, and I'm giving you $10 worth of kadim. You might be giving me more kadim. It might be worth the same value, but I don't want kadim. I want chavias. So that's what the shaila could be, where the money, the value won't be a raya.
You can see how much money you gave.
Right?
See how many kadim you got.
That's right. I'll give you more kadim. Let's say for $10 you buy 6 chavias or 10 kadim. And I said I wanted to buy chavias. Here's $10. Give me chavias, $10. So he gave him kadim.
Just look at how much money.
I'll just give you more kadim. I didn't say I'm giving you $10 for 10 kadim. Give me $10 worth of chavias. So you gave him $10 worth of kadim. Okay, so Dr. Kamash Malon, that you don't go basaroi, turning on Tamid Beis. Kamash Malon, the inherchen the moment acher arrive, rather you go basar muchse. Zok Rashi, Hecha de mistabkel on milsa kegayin hacha. Here where there's a suffix, what if I go to you and I want to buy an ox, and you sell me an ox, and it turns out this ox is a wild ox. Now it depends what I buy. If I'm buying it to shecht, I don't care how wild it is. But if I'm buying it, I need it to plow for me. It's a very big problem. So loy amrina basaruba zil. Don't say you go basariv ula charisha kanai, and I can claim as lekech that I need it for charisha, and therefore it's a mekach because you gave me a wild animal that I won't be able to use to plow avatos. He could say, no, I sold it to you because I thought you were going to buy it for shchita. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. If someone broke it, the person who broke it is potter to pay, he left it where it doesn't belong. Why doesn't he look where he's going? Why does he look where he's going? Tosfos asks, I don't understand. The Gemara's kasha is, why is the person who hit it potter? He should be chayiv. Why? Because he should have watched where he was going. Why doesn't the Gemara the better kasha? Why do the balakad, the balachovish, why does he have to pay me if I got hurt? He should have looked where I was going. Why is the Gemara's kasha about why I have to pay for it if I break it? Why isn't the Gemara's kasha about why he has to pay me if I get hurt? It's the same kasha. So Tosfos, once again, I have arrived from here that the Gemara holds that I have a greater responsibility to be careful not to damage your product than I have to protect myself from getting damaged. So therefore, the Gemara didn't ask the kasha, why do I get paid if I get hurt? Well, I should have looked. I don't have to look so carefully. There's a much more limited responsibility for me to protect myself from getting damaged. But you have to be uber careful not to damage somebody else's property. Therefore, the Gemara asks here, Uber means
more?
Yeah. It doesn't just mean a car ride. Zok the Gemara, Amri devei Rab, Amadrei Rab Mishmei Rab. So Rab answered, you know what the case was? You know why? There's no time on me that I should have looked where I was going? It's speaking where he filled up the whole Rishus Harabim. So he had no choice. He had to break them. There was nowhere else to go. That's why he's potter. Shmuel Amar Bafei Lashon. It's speaking where it was dark. I couldn't see. So there's no time on me that I should have looked. I couldn't have seen. Zok Rashi. There's no Rashi in here. And Rabbi Yochanan says Bekeren Zavas. It's speaking where it's right at a turn, and it's right at the edge of the turn. So as soon as I turn, it's right there. I didn't have a chance to react fast enough because it was right there. Omer Papa, Zok Papa, Loy Dekam Asnisen. If you want to see who our Mishnah really holds like, it's Mashma Ela Oike Shmuel Oike Rabbi Yochanan. Why? Because Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan both said Shameniach Loy Pasha. The person who put the jug down wasn't Pasheya. Hilchach Dafke Niskal Aval Shiva Baratzen Chayiv. The Niskal, so the Menich was not Pasheya. But either way, they said Shmuel said it was dark, and Rabbi Yochanan says Karen's office. But he put one down. It's normal to put something down on the street. The Ika Rav, if you hold like Rav, where he filled the whole thing with chavayos, my area niskal. What's up is the Mishnah says that somebody tripped on it, right? Even if I went lahedya and broke it, I feel shiva nami. Even though I went ahead and broke it, I'm allowed. When you block the whole way, I'm allowed to break to get my way through the Rishus Harabim. No, who adin dafilu shiver? Ain't a chanami. You would also be potter even though you broke and you didn't just trip on it. So why didn't our Mishnah say a bigger chiddush? That not only if it's niskaba are you potter, but even if you broke it, you'll still be potter to pay because he blocked up the whole Rishus Harabim. The Haida Katani Niskal, you know why I said Niskal? I did the Baila Mishnah Sefer, because the Sefer of the Mishnah needed to use the word Niskal, because it's from Huzakpa, right? The halacha is, if I get hurt because you left your barrel out there we say Bala Bayis, Bala Chavis, Chayv Niskal. There's a difference. The Dafka Niskal. When do you have to pay me if I get hurt from your barrel, if I trip over it and I get hurt? But what if I'm breaking it, as I'm allowed to do, in fact, if you covered the whole Rishus Harabim? If I was breaking your barrel and I got hurt from one of the pieces that I broke, loy, therefore zoivai, the person who put the barrel there, would not have to pay me. My timer, who the azakanafshe? I hurt myself. I didn't get hurt on the barrel. I got hurt on a broken shard that I broke. And therefefore, it used Katani Reisha Niskal. That's why it sticks to the word Niskal. But in fact, according to Rav's Pshat, where the whole place was full of chaviyos, avada, you're allowed to break it l'chatchila. Zokt Rashi, Dafka Niskal aval shiba barotzain. The achagach huzo b'charotzav, there it's potter balachavis, the ihu the azakanavshe. Because he himself broke the barrel. He didn't have to break the barrel. Well, so you're bringing up a good point, because this lends ourselves to a discussion. We learned kol mashana u'ba'ach b'shina potter, right? So putting a barrel down where you shouldn't be putting it is a mashana. So therefore, I should be potter. It's macham. I'm only potter if I break it, if it was filling the whole Rishus Harabim. But if you stop, put it down, and
not allowed to put in
so no. Tosfos talks about that kol mashana is only referring to an animal. On the Adam Hamazik, you're not allowed to break someone's stuff, even if he was Mashana. Tosfos speaks out.
You should look where he was going.
Correct. Yeah. In other words, there's a much bigger chiyuv on a person than there is on an animal. And Tosfos discusses the different responsibilities regarding this. And if you remember, I told you yesterday how Tosfos makes distinctions in Adam Hamazik. And he makes it from here, because here he's discussing how liable I am for not looking. So Tosfos talks about an oynis curve the pshia, similar to Aveda, or an oynis curve the oynis, like curve the geneva. So Tosfos discusses the different levels of responsibility that are on a person, that are on an animal. And that's what.
Depends how.
So we're about to get to that. So let's look. Kotani Reish Niskal. Amar le Rabba Rashi. Hachi Amri b'Marava Mishmei de Ravula. This is what they used to say in Marava in the name of Ravula. Levishain Darkon Shel Bnei Adam Lispoinim Midrachim. You're asking me a kasha. I should have looked. You know what? People don't look. When people are running down the street, like Shmuel says, they're looking on their cell phones, they're in the middle of texting, they're not looking. And since they're not looking, it's not expected to someone to look, so there's no kasha. There was a story in our door where exactly this occurred. Someone's walking down the street and he smashed into someone's barrel. V'chayev Shmuel. And Shmuel Paskin, he was dying there, as a niskol shalom. He made the guy pay. So Frek Rabbi Shmuel Kishmai say, Shmuel was mechayevim the muki lemasnisim ba'afela. He said the Mishnah that says I'm potter for breaking the barrel, it's because I couldn't see it. So there's no time to be by leuni. But if it was during the day, I'd be chayev. So Shmuel Paskins, if you're walking down the street during the day, and there's a barrel there and you break it, you're mechuyev to pay for it. Ela Rava lema k'Shmuel. Bishlam Shmuel says k'Shmaitze because he boy leuni. But Rava learned, what was Rava's case? Rava's case was, which I think Rava's going according to Rav. So Rava lema k'Shmuel Sril and talk. Rava who was also mechayiv. Do we say that he holds like Shmuel and therefore that's the same reason why he was mechayiv, because you're only potter if it was ba'fela and there's no tiny yune. But otherwise, if it's during the day, you should be chayiv. So maybe Rav agrees with Shmuel. Amar Papa, no. Karna the Atzra Havi. He could even hold like Rav, and the whole property was full of barrels, and he was still mechayiv him for breaking it. Why? You blocked my whole way. I should be allowed to break it. No, because this was right in front of the press, where there were lines of people waiting to get into the press. And whenever there's lines of people waiting to get into the press, they're allowed to keep their barrels on the ground. They're allowed to line up on the ground. That was the norm. As Rashi says, Karen Zovis, Hasmucha Levesabat, the Chivin of Rishos Ka'avdi. Why, Dr. Rashi? Shemin Hagim Hayakain. Hishahaisa Beisabat Malay B'nei Adam. If the store was full of people, Hayu Aboim Hashivin Kalem Rishos Harabim. The norm was to put their Kalim in Rishos Harabim, Umaptinin Ad Sheyatzu Elu. And they would wait till the people in the store left. That's the norm, and therefore, in this specific case, it was mutter for them to keep their barrels, and therefore the person couldn't do it. Therefore, you have to be careful to navigate through the street that's full of barrels, because there it's allowed. We said we're assessing boishas. So there's different. You could hit a person, and depending on how you hit him, it'll cause him more or less busha. So if a guy knees somebody, he pays 3 shkolim, because that's the 3 sloim. That's the level of busha. Ulabit, if you kick somebody, that's even more humiliating. Chomesh. Ulasnoikris, if you hit him with the saddle of a chamor, that's very denigrating. Shalosh esrei. Lapanda demara ulakopina demara mai. How much should I charge boishes if he hits him either with the handle of an axe or of a hoe or the metal, the blade of the hoe? My shalachle. So Rab Nachman sent back to Rab Chisda, what are you doing? Kanasa kamagvis bebavel. Boishes is like a kanas, and therefore you're in Bavel. We don't don dine knasas bebavel. What are you doing? Tell me exactly what happened, because it sounds like you're barking up the wrong tree. You're asking me how to assess a knas when you shouldn't be doing knasus at all. Shalach, he sent him the following: the hukah gusa, the betray. There was 2 fields, and there was a barrel with not a barrel. There's a pit with water in between. They didn't always have enough water, so they used to switch off. I'll take on Monday. You'll take on Tuesday. So every second day we had a chance to take water. The chol yoyim to have a doli chad minai. Every day they made up only one person could draw water from it. Also chad kadoli b'yoyim delay. And one fellow decided he's being a chazer and he's going to take water on a day that wasn't his day. Amr lay, so the fellow tells him, you shouldn't be taking it. It's my day. Lo yashkepay. He didn't listen. He was ignoring him. He was taking the water anyway. So the guy had to defend himself. Stakal pounded the more and machia give my pazets. Amr lay, so Rab Nachman told him, Chisda, what's wrong with that? Meya pande bepande lemachia. He should have hit him 100 times. He had every right to hit him. Why would you want to sanction it? Even if you hold you're not allowed to do vigilante justice, you have to wait and go to Besdin. But what am I going to do? He's going to take the water, and then I'm going to take the Besdin. What's Besdin going to do for me? There's no water left. There's nothing they can do for me. So in a situation where you have to salvage, yes, you're allowed to take matters into your own hands. If there's a pseida, that means if I don't deal with it right away and I wait till I go to court, the guy's going to sell all his assets and run away. Everybody agrees you could do vigilance justice and take matters into your own hands. Keep leaking the if I could wait and recover my losses by going to Bezdin and doing it in a formal fashion. Why? There's no loss to you because you'll be able to recover your losses from Bezdin. Go to a dayan. You know why? To keep on the bedin of it, you know something? I'm right, and I don't want to go fight in Bezdin. I don't want to be busy. I'll give you 2 sets, and I'll take care of business by myself. Okay, let's stop here, and we'll be mamshich tomorrow.
I want to help you. Yes, busy.
Sorry?
Yosy, can I share something with you?
Please.
Let me share this. It's 1 second. You see that? This is the Chavis in the Rishus Harabim.
It didn't come up yet. It still take time to load. 1 second. And I'm going to stop my share so that your share will come up. Okay,
See it?
so that's a picture of a Chavos B'Shus Harabim.
Right. Well, two different approaches. Watch this. This is what the Bala Chavis wants you to do.
That's right.
Okay, and this is what happens.
Very good. Where did you see that?
It's cats versus dogs obstacle courses on YouTube.
Okay, gewaltig.
Yeah.
Shkoyach.
Cat is able and a dog isn't?
That's right.
The dog doesn't care. The dog doesn't care to.
What else?
Okay.
Shkoyach.